Hello, everyone. Welcome to the certificate course on criminal psychology by Psychoshiksha.
In the previous classes, we have done with the introduction and scope of criminal psychology in India as well as in foreign lands. In the second session, we have covered about how our behavior can predict whether somebody can commit a particular crime or not. Now, there are various psychological disorders that are also related to a criminal behavior and how the understanding of that behavior help us in diagnosing whether the person falls in that very particular category of a disorder or not. So here today we begin with disorders and crime. Okay, so the first slides come up that says relationship between personality disorders and criminal behavior. There is a well documented association between personality disorders and violence. The relationship between them is complicated by the high comorbidity of mental disorders, the heterogeneity of violence, particularly in the regard of its motivation, and differing view regarding the ways personality disorders are conceptualized and measured. Hence, a perspective on personality disorder and violence is offered that views the relationship between them, the lenses of the five-factor model of personality, and quadripetite typology of violence. Evidence is viewed suggesting that emotion dysregulation, impulsiveness, psychopathy, and delusion ideation conjointly contribute to the increased risk of violence shown by people with personality disorder, and do so by contributing to a broad severity dimension of personality dysfunction. Now, there have been researches that suggest that yes, personality disorder and criminal behavior are highly correlated with each other. The people who are suffering from various personality disorders, for example, multiple personality disorder, or we can say borderline personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, attribute something that leads to violence in certain ways. It's understood that people with these type of a personality disorder often have impulsiveness in them, often have neuroticism in them as a trait, and dysregulation of emotions somehow equally correlate with the development of criminal behavior. This takes me to an example. Have you ever come across with somebody who said that I just killed somebody out of aggression? It just happened. I didn't feel like. It just happened. When somebody say that it just happened, that means they were so impulsive that they could not calculate the consequences of their action. And they were so high on impulsivity, so high on their aggression, that the aggression is somehow overpowering their behavior. Therefore, they are committing a crime. One very common case I would like to quote here. There was a case of a young boy killing a gas agency person over a fight of not providing him with a cylinder. Is this a reason for fighting to a ground that you stab that person around 10 times and then behind the bars? When you are hitting somebody just out of aggression, then it's just one stab and you realize that, oh, I have done something wrong. But when you're hitting somebody in a verse that you're just stabbing, 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 and numbers of times you're stabbing, approx 10 numbers of times you're stabbing, it means that person is not mentally fit. There's no empathy, there's no remorse, there's no guilt at that very, very particular moment. And the sad part in our country is the crime rate is increasing, definitely. But the another sad part here is that people are not very well aware about whether they're suffering from any particular psychological disorder or not. Most of the time, disorders remain undiagnosed. We just keep on claiming that he is little weird or somebody is not like anybody else. And we just keep isolating them in the words like crazy, weird, not like us, little different, special, and they keep on maintaining that very particular disorder. Because again, a mental health awareness is highly important, not only in stopping the crime, but even contributing to the journey of crime will also decrease if there is a good mental health awareness. The last point here between the relationship of personality disorders and criminal behavior. Moreover, antisocial borderline personality disorder comorbidity has been found to be strongly associated with degree of severe violence perpetrated by personality disorders offender. Over half of the comorbidity between antisocial and borderline personality disorder is reported to arise from genetic factors. And these disorders share genetic and environmental risk over and above those common to all cluster B disorders, that is, antisocial, borderline, and narcissistic. So these are the various personality disorders. Personality disorders generally come up in your genetic factors. Okay, it's in your gene pool only. But of course, there are some environmental risk that makes you somehow vulnerable in developing that very particular behavior. If you remember in the previous class where we have talked about crime and behavior, we have discussed these things that if somebody is extroverted and they are in an environment where guns and everything is available to them, or the violence has been very frequently happening around them, they'll develop these kind of a behavior little frequent. Here again, if somebody is diagnosed with a personality disorder, maybe antisocial, borderline, or narcissistic, and they have been exposed to a lot of violence in their family, in their surroundings, in their environment, then there's a high risk that they end up doing any criminal activity, or they end up in some kind of a violent act. Now let's study about each disorder in little details. So whenever you will be sitting as a criminal psychologist in any of the prison or with any of the government body or as a private body also, you'll be able to understand some disorders that are very closely related to the criminal behavior. Although all the symptoms have not been discussed here, of course, whenever you are diagnosing somebody, you as a criminal psychologist cannot label it, but you can surely come up in some umbrella term that yes, the person might fall in some category of personality disorder. The further diagnosis will always be done by the clinical psychologist, and the labeling has to be done by clinical psychologist with the help of all tests. Not a criminal psychologist's job is not to label anybody with any disorder. It's for your knowledge so that you understand them nicely and in deeper level, that why people are committing crime, what all personality disorders symptoms can be seen and observed in people who are committing crime. Coming to antisocial personality disorder, ASPD. People with antisocial personality disorder can be witty, charming, and fun to be around, but they also lie and exploit others. ASPD people makes people uncaring. Someone with this disorder may act rashly, destructively, and unsafely without feeling guilty when their actions hurt others. Now, here I would like to first elaborate on the term antisocial personality disorder. Many of the time, people say that when it's been asked that are you an introvert or an extrovert, people say I am an introvert because I am antisocial. Antisocial does not mean somebody who do not like to socialize. Antisocial does not mean somebody who do not like to interact or talk to people. Antisocial means somebody who is going against the societal norms. If it's been asked not to hit anybody, they're going to do it. If it's been asked not to drive drunk and drive, they are going to do it. So they are witty, charming, and fun to be around. So you'll never able to understand easily or diagnose easily somebody who's from ASPD. But they exploit, and more importantly, they have no remorse. They have no guilt feeling when they are hurting anybody. Okay. So if you now do not think that there are a lot of people like this, there could be a slightest of behavior, negative behavior can be shown by somebody, but that does not mean we can put them in the category of a disorder. But if you look around very nicely, then you'll observe that there are people who do slapping or pinching, and you are being screaming that oh it's hurtful, don't do it, but they still do it. They keep on doing it. Okay. Why? Because they have no guilt feeling for their actions. They do not feel that, okay, I'm hurting somebody. Okay. Uh, so if I could recall a case here, a lot of cases are being out in the market about people chopping off their partner and putting them inside the refrigerator. It's a very common, it's not something you can commonly see with people. If anybody want to murder somebody, they'll murder and, dug them, grave them, or burn them, or do whatever to hide the dead body. Okay. But chopping them off, it means that whenever they are chopping each part, okay, the pain the person is having, the scream that they are going through, they want that. They enjoying it. They are liking it. Okay. And they are committing a crime. Okay. So this person with antisocial personality disorder will definitely exhibit this behavior. And a movie of Kangna Ranaut, Judgmental Hai Kya? Later on, it was like Mental Hai Kya, something like that. The movie name is. It's Rajkumar Rao. You can definitely watch that movie to understand this concept in more details. Modern diagnostic systems consider ASPD to include two related but not identical conditions. One, a psychopath is someone whose hurtful action towards others tend to reflect calculation, manipulation, and cunning. They also tend not to feel emotion and mimic empathy for others. It is a severe form of ASPD. They can be deceptively charismatic and charming. By contrast, sociopaths are somewhat more able to form attachment to others but still disregard social rules. They tend to be more impulsive, haphazard, and easily agitated by people with psychopathy. ASPD affects 2 to 4% of the population and is more common in men. Now, antisocial personality disorder has two identical conditions. One is psychopath and another is sociopaths. A very basic difference between psychopaths and sociopaths are psychopaths are a planner. So if you ever find a serial killer, there's a huge tendency that a serial killer will be a psychopath. Why? Because psychopaths are the people who are very calculative. They'll commit a crime in a way that they will never get caught. Hence, they do multiple crimes. They get opportunity to do multiple crimes because they're not being caught. Uh, Sonakshi Sinha web series, The Hard, is on the particular thing, psychopath. You can watch it. You'll definitely associate with it. The second term is sociopaths. Sociopaths are impulsive. So they do one time murder, one time crime, the one I'm talking about, stabbing somebody so many times. So the person falls in the category of sociopaths, not being very calculative, okay, and hence get caught very easily. Psychopaths, on the other hand, are somehow called the white collar criminals. Why? Because they maintain a very regular job. They go to work, come back, living a very good life, but yet the criminal is in their mind. They're planning, plotting to kill people. Okay. And on the other hand, sociopaths are impulsive, quick. They got angry, they got impulsive. You have bothered them, they'll kill you over behind the bars. And psychopaths, on the other hand, they are difficult to caught because they planned it so nicely. They never leave any evidence. They act in a certain way that it's so difficult to find out that, oh, this person can ever be a criminal because they are having a very normal life. So basic difference between psychopaths and sociopaths, although it's been discussed, but still, sociopaths make it clear they do not care how other feels, behave in a hot-headed and impulsive way, prone to fits of anger and rage, recognize what they are doing but rationalize their behavior. Cannot maintain a regular work and family life, can form emotional attachment, but it is difficult to form long-term relationship. So people who are psychopaths, they do not maintain long-term relationship. They attach, but then they detach themselves very easily. They do not feel the pain of other person. And of course, if ever they have committed a crime and you'll interact them, if you say that, are you guilty of your behavior? Initially, they're like, no, no, no. But somehow, after some time, they might feel that, okay, they have done something wrong, but they'll keep rationalizing it. Okay. For example, why have you killed a 10-year-old girl? So they will say that I have killed him because she was not sitting nicely. I have killed her because she was not acting nicely. She was not listening to me. So whatever stupid to stupid reason they can come up to, they will come up and they reason out. Psychopaths, on the other hand, pretend to care, display cold-hearted behavior, fail to recognize other people's distress, have relationships that are shallow and fake, maintain a normal life as a cover for their criminal activity, fail to form genuine emotional attachment, make people make may love people in their own way. Psychopaths, I've already told you that they maintain a very regular life. Okay, because they plot, or kabhi kisi ko, nobody ever gets to know that this person can never commit a crime. So the Hard is a very good web series to understand the concept of psychopathy. And they are very cold hearted. They pretend that they care, but they do not care. What they care about is their urge to kill somebody. And yes, psychopaths do not always have a purpose to kill. The purpose can be a very, past purpose. That's why there are serial killers. So, a similar type of a killing they are going to do. For example, they're going to kill women, okay? Not raping them, nothing like that, just kill them, okay? Maintain some association, kill them. Okay, and on the other hand, sociopath have a very very direct problem. Like somebody has bothered them, so they'll kill them. But psychopath, you have not directly bothered them, but somebody in their past have bothered them. For example, a female has bothered them, and now they're going to kill the females in certain ways. Okay, that's how psychopaths come up. Symptoms of antisocial personality disorder requires a medical diagnosis. Those with antisocial personality disorder tend to lie, break laws, act impulsively, and lack regard for their own safety or the safety of others. Symptoms may lessen with age. So, people who are suffering from antisocial personality disorder, they break laws, they are very impulsive, they do not have regard for their own safety and for the others, of course. Okay, so I have a very recent case I have seen in the news nowadays, a Gujarat case where a boy has hit somebody and he came out of the car and say another round, another round, another round. Okay, this shows that the guy has no sense of security for himself as well as for the others, of course. Okay, he has already killed one person and still he feel like that I want to go another round and kill another person. Okay. Behavioral antisocial behavior, deceitfulness, hostility, irresponsibility, manipulativeness, risk-taking behavior, aggression, impulsivity, irritability, or lack of restraint, mood, anger, boredom, and general discontent. So they get bored very easily, very aggressive, okay, and of course they do substance abuse, they're very impulsive. So these are the basic behaviors that we can see. We all exhibit those behaviors, but when we call somebody in the category of suffering from a psychological disorder, that means it is in such an extent that they're not able to maintain a regular life or they are being danger to the society. Okay, moving on. Treatment consists of therapy. Treatment may include talk therapy and support from affected family members. So, family therapy, behavioral therapy, and psychotherapies are the one that should be given to them. More or less, we'll cover about a treatment plan that's called moral recognition therapy. So, we generally apply that to all the people who have committed crime, be whatever they are suffering from. Apart from medications, can also be given in the treatment plan. Coming on to narcissistic personality disorder. Narcissistic personality disorder involves a pattern of self centered, arrogant thinking and behavior, a lack of empathy and consideration for other people, an excessive need for admiration. Others often describe people with NPD as cocky, manipulative, selfish, patronizing, and demanding. Have a sense of entitlement and require constant, excessive admiration. Expect to be recognized as superior even without achievements that warrant it. Exaggerate achievements and talent. Be preoccupied with fantasies about success, power, brilliance, beauty, or the perfect mate. Now, there are a lot of terms that I would like to clarify before we move ahead with this topic. So, there's a term called self love. People who self love, who love themselves, or who, know what are their strengths and weaknesses, are not somebody who are narcissistic. Okay, because self love is a very positive form. Okay, I know I love myself, although I'm not that beautiful, but still I love myself. I accept my flaws and I know, okay, these are my flaws. Okay, I'm not wearing a very nice dress or I'm not driving a particular car. I'm not in that high position, but still I love myself. Okay, I am accepting, the person is accepting their flaws, yet they love themselves the way they are. That is self love. Now we come to a trait that we talk about, that somebody is narcissistic. Okay, somebody who is being narcissistic and somebody who is suffering from narcissistic personality disorder are two different things. People whom we call narcissists are the one who brag about themselves so much so that they fail to see their flaws, and they also fail to see other person's good points, the positives in the other person. Okay, so they keep on saying that, they always talk about that everything is revolving around them. Okay, but they're not hurting anybody, they're not demeaning anybody. It's just that whenever you talk to them, they keep on praising themselves. Okay, so for example, you are talking to them about, yeah, I'm not able to get a job, so I'm a little stressed. Oh, you're not able to get a job. I struggled a lot. Then I got failed here. Then I got failed here. But now, see, I'm at the top company. I'm working like this. I am that. I'm that. They are talking about their failures and everything, but somehow talking about just themselves. These are the people with narcissistic traits. Okay, they're not suffering from narcissistic personality disorder. When we say that somebody is suffering from narcissistic personality disorder, they are so much so in self-centeredness, they are so arrogant in their thinking that they are ready to demean the person. They are ready to, be so bad, be so inhumane to the other person that they just want their benefit. They just want to look good. So there's a story of a Barbie. She was a girl, like Barbie now is a Barbie doll, but early Barbie was a human on which the dolls have been prepared later. So she was a pretty girl who won a lot of competitions, but somehow she suffered from narcissistic personality disorder. And by seeing other people who are more beautiful to them, or by watching other girls who can compete with her or who can win the competition, what she did just a day before the competition, she used to kill that particular girl. Okay, so she has killed a lot of girls. So there was a comorbidity of, we can say, psychopath and narcissistic personality disorder, because she want to win that I am the best. This what narcissistic personality disorder come up as. So now here the crime or killing somebody or being inhuman to somebody is in association with I want to be the best. And how I can be the best? By pulling down the other person. Okay. Common symptoms of people from narcissistic personality disorders are they are grandiosity, calculus, unemotional trait, disregard for others, feeling excessive need for admiration, and social isolation. They do go out for social isolation when they are not being praised or looked after by that, yes, you are the one. And they are hungry for power also. They always wanted to be on the position of power, whatever it takes, they are ready to do that. Treatment consists of the disorder needs to be diagnosed by a professional. Treatment involves talk therapy, supportive care, monitoring, and support group, counseling, psychology, family therapy, and group psychotherapy. So these are the basic therapies, as I told you, that we apply as a treatment plan to almost all the disorders. Now, the last one here is borderline personality disorder. Borderline personality disorder is a mental health disorder that impacts the way you think and feel about yourself and others, causing problem function in everyday life. It includes self-image issue, difficulty managing emotions and behavior, and a pattern of unstable relationship. So generally, borderline personality disorder includes a lot of self-harm behavior. Okay, here you're not only harming the other person, but you're also harming yourself. Very unstable, too much in questioning the other person. Okay, and sometimes acting good, but sometimes acting so in a negative manner that you're not able to control your own self. You're there to harm yourself, just sitting idle, crying, or just in an isolation. So generally, people with borderline personality disorder appears like depression symptoms. Okay, because self-harm is also there, but it's not depression. The symptoms of depression are slightly different than the symptoms of borderline personality disorder. They are overlapping. Of course, a lot of psychological disorders symptoms are overlapping, but we need to follow proper DSM to diagnose somebody with a particular disorder. So symptoms include emotional instability, feeling of worthlessness, insecurity, impulsivity, and impaired social relationships. So they do not maintain good relationships because they are very insecure, they're very impulsive, they have the feeling of worthlessness. As I told you, depression also, we have the same feeling. But in depression, we are not very impulsive. But in borderline, we're impulsive and we just, either harm ourselves or we harm the other person. People may experience behavioral, for example, antisocial behavior, compulsive behavior, hostility, impulsivity, irritability, risk taking behavior, self destructive behavior, as I told you, self harm, social isolation, and lack of restraint. Their anger, anxiety, guilt, loneliness, mood swings, and sadness are the common moods that can be found in them. Psychologically, depression, distorted self image, grandiosity, and narcissism. Common thoughts of suicide. So they also come up with the thoughts of suicide. As I told you, in depression, it was a lot like just like that. It is similar, quite overlapping, but not exactly similar. Treatment consists of talk therapy and in some cases medication. Hospitalization helps if someone are severe. And cognitive behavior, anger management techniques are highly applied with people with borderline because they are very impulsive, and in the verge of impulsivity they just harm themselves, and there are huge chances that they'll kill their own self. So in order to stop that, in prisons also we keep on conducting anger management workshops for them so that their behavior remains under control. I cannot come up with a direct example where somebody is diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and they have committed a crime. But yeah, suicide case most of the time can be the cause, not only depression, but borderline personality disorder can also be one of the cause behind it. So on this note, we'll end here for today. So thank you everybody. Stay tuned and we'll continue with our another class